At a time of massive and unprecedented income and wealth inequality, the Republicans look around them and they say, wow, we got three people owning more wealth than the bottom half of American society. Very richest people are becoming phenomenally richer. Working people are struggling. What's the solution? Well, obviously, the solution is to give massive tax breaks to the rich and make a very bad situation even worse.
Here's what just happened, and it's brutal. Bernie Sanders walks into this hearing doing what he's done for decades, yelling about the rich, wagging his finger, pretending it's still the Cold War and capitalism is the enemy. Same script. Same scare tactics. Same nonsense. But this time, he ran into Bernie Moreno, and Sanders clearly wasn't ready. Moreno isn't a career politician who's spent his life inside the system. He's a businessman. A car dealer. A guy who's actually signed paychecks and understands how taxes really work outside Washington fantasy land. And when Sanders starts pushing the tax the rich fantasy again, he exposes how the so-called Inflation Reduction Act doesn't punish the elites. It crushes small businesses, raises costs, and hits working Americans first, the very people Democrats claim to defend. Moreno didn't just disagree with Sanders, he exposed him. And this clip proves why the left is terrified of businessmen who can't be bullied. Let's get into it.
It is apparently not good enough that the top 1% today own more wealth than the bottom 90%. That is rather phenomenal. But in my Republican colleagues' eyes, the wealthy and the powerful need even more help. 1% owning more wealth than the bottom 90%, just not good enough. We could do better than that. So not only should the very wealthy be asked to pay their fair share of taxes, the Republicans believe that we should give huge tax breaks to millionaires and billionaires.
I think we need to kind of go back in time for just a little bit, not quite as much as in Back to the Future. Let's just go back to 2020. There was an election in 2020. The Democrats gained control of the Senate and the White House. And what's been the result? During the 4 years of President Trump, his first term, it was never better for working class Americans. Real wage growth grew. The middle class was doing better. Our economy was doing fantastic. The Republicans had passed the TCJA, which gave tax relief to all Americans. And we received, and this is very important, the federal government received a record amount of revenue. So even though there was tax cuts for the wealthy was the headline. By the way, that line is as old as dirt, and it's totally false. While the tax rates were cut, tax revenue was at a record level. It would be fascinating if there was just one Democrat that acknowledged that we received a record amount of revenue in the federal coffers. Do you think to yourself, well, wait a second. Like, I'm a business guy. Like, if my revenue was at an all-time high and I was losing money, I'd say we have a huge expense problem. Like, oh my God, how could I get record revenue and yet have record deficits? Why? Because when you give Democrats control of our budget, what happens? I'll give you some examples. When my colleagues talk about how they defend the working class, I think the working class spoke pretty clearly on November 5th of 2024 and said, thank you, but no thank you. So what can happen in my old world of owning car dealerships? Mr. Chairman, you could walk into one of my dealerships, be a multimillionaire, pick out a beautiful custom-made Rolls-Royce Spectre where the audio system upgrade is $21,000. The logoed headrest in the back seat are $1,500. The umbrella with a logo could be 10 grand. You can lease that car. And thanks to the amazing and remarkable policies from the Democrat Party, the federal government will give you a check for $7,500. Think about that for just a second. That is a bill that became law called the Inflation Reduction Act, giving Rolls-Royce lease customers $7,500 lowers inflation, and every one of them voted for that bill. How did that bill become law, you ask? Did it get 60 votes? Rigorous debate? No. They did it through reconciliation. And Kamala Harris broke the tie-breaking vote so that multimillionaires could have their fifth vehicle parked in Palm Beach with a check for $7,500 thanks to the U.S. taxpayer.
Wow. Did you see Bernie Sanders' face? That's the look of a guy realizing he just got schooled on real-world math. This is why socialism keeps collapsing when confronted with facts. Bernie loves preaching fairness and income inequality because it sounds good in a soundbite. But Moreno didn't let him get away with fluff. He dragged the conversation back to reality, the Trump years, when policies actually worked for the American middle class. Here's what people forget. When you cut taxes and reduce government interference, then the middle class thrives. Wages go up. People keep more of their hard-earned money. That's not rhetoric, that's actual results. Then Moreno crushed the biggest lie in Washington, the idea that tax cuts for the wealthy cost the government money. Reality check. Revenues soared to record highs. When the economy booms, everyone wins, and the federal coffers stay full. But the cherry on top? That Rolls-Royce example. Democrats claim to fight for workers, yet they passed the Inflation Reduction Act, giving $7,500 tax credits to millionaires leasing luxury electric cars. Moreno made it crystal clear. A guy buys a Rolls-Royce Spectre with a $10,000 umbrella. Yes, an umbrella. And Kamala Harris broke the tie to give him a handout. That's not helping the working class. That's socialism for the elite. This is exactly why working Americans abandon Democrats in 2024. People are tired of career politicians who've never earned a paycheck lecturing them. They want growth. They want opportunity. They want leaders who know government's job is to let people create wealth, not take it. Moreno didn't just win that debate, he exposed the socialist failure for everyone to see. We need more leaders like him, builders, fighters, common-sense Americans. So, did that Rolls-Royce example shut it down or what? Drop your thoughts below. Like, subscribe, and keep fighting for the truth.